Prince. You hear the name and, you immediately think of Purple Rain, incredible guitar solos, and a style that was just on another planet. But what's really fascinating is that behind that global icon, there was this incredibly complex person, full of secrets and stories that, honestly, even his biggest fans might not know.
I mean, this quote from American songwriter says it all. His influence wasn't just big, it was and is immeasurable. The guy didn't just make hits, he literally sculpted the sound of pop, funk, and rock music for generations.
So that's the big question, right? And it's what we're going to get into today. We're going to peel back the layers and go way beyond the chart toppers to look at 5 mind-blowing facts that show you the genius, the rebel, and the seeker that was Prince Rogers Nelson.
Okay, let's kick things off with fact number 1, the secret hitmaker. We all know his own catalog is legendary, but what about the massive hits he wrote for other artists? A lot of the time, he did it in total secret. It's like he was a ghostwriter hiding in plain sight.
Just look at this. The range is wild. As Christopher Marty, he gives the Bangles their smash hit Manic Monday. Then he turns around and, as Joey Coco, writes a song for country superstar Kenny Rogers. And that's not even counting Jamie Starr, the name he used to produce all these funk and R&B classics for The Time and Sheila E. The guy was a musical chameleon, jumping between genres, and nobody even knew it was him.
All right, on to fact number 2, the mythical music vault. Now think about this. If he was writing that many songs for other people, just imagine how much music he was making for himself that we've never ever heard. And that's where the legend of the vault comes in.
Paisley Park. This place wasn't just his home, it was his creative universe, a fortress of funk out in Minnesota where he could record whenever he wanted, 24/7. And buried deep inside this incredible complex was a room that has become total music legend.
And get this, we're not talking about some dusty old closet with a few tapes. The vault is a literal, honest-to-goodness bank vault, and it's supposedly stuffed with an amount of music that's almost impossible to comprehend. Entire albums that were finished and never released. Dozens of music videos, fully produced. Thousands of songs. It really makes you think. His official albums? That might just be the very tip of the iceberg.
So sometimes Prince's genius was so nonstop that he'd write an amazing song, kind of toss it onto an album for a side project, and it would just disappear. That is, until another artist found it and turned it into a global sensation years down the line.
Nothing Compares to You is the perfect example. It was basically a deep cut on a pretty obscure album he made for his band The Family back in '85. And then, crickets, nothing. 5 years later, Sinead O'Connor gets her hands on it, and her version becomes one of the biggest, most iconic songs of the entire decade. Prince wrote it, but for millions of people, it was her song.
And the story behind Kiss is maybe even crazier. He starts with this little acoustic demo, probably took him 10 minutes to write, and he just gives it away to another band. But then Maserati and their producer totally transform it into this funky, unique jam. Prince hears what they've done, and he's like, whoa, wait a minute, you guys are onto something? So he takes the song back, pulls out the bass line, adds this unmistakable vocals, and boom, creates one of the most iconic minimalist hits of all time.
Okay, let's jump to the early 90s. Prince is one of the biggest stars on the planet, but he felt totally trapped. And his fight with his record label Warner Bros. Led to one of the wildest, most confusing, and frankly most brilliant acts of rebellion in music history.
So, on his 35th birthday in 1993, he announces he's changing his name. But not to another name, he changes it to this, an unpronounceable symbol. He basically just deleted his own world-famous identity. Think about it. How do you type that symbol? How do you even say it? You can't. So the media, totally stumped, had to invent something to call him. And just like that, the artist formerly known as Prince was born out of pure necessity.
But this was no joke. This wasn't some weird artistic stunt. It was a declaration of war. He felt that because the label owned his mass recordings and controlled his name, they owned him. He even started appearing in public with the word slave written right on his face. By ditching the name Prince, he was trying to break free from the contract he felt had literally enslaved him.
All right, our 5th and final fact, a surprising spiritual journey. So while this huge professional battle was playing out in public, his private life was going through this deep, profound change that just seemed to completely contradict the public image he'd built.
Let's not forget, okay? This is the artist whose song Darling Nikki was so explicit that it literally sparked the movement to create the parental advisory sticker.
His entire persona was built on this unapologetic, groundbreaking sexuality.
So keeping that in mind, nobody, and I mean nobody, saw this next chapter coming. In 2001, after years of exploring his faith, he committed himself fully to an organized religion.
The man who wrote Darling Nikki became a devout Jehovah's Witness. There are even stories of him going door to door in his Minneapolis neighborhood to talk about his faith. And while this conviction was clearly very deep for him, it also had a tragic side. His beliefs reportedly led him to refuse a much-needed hip surgery, which left him in chronic pain and led to a reliance on the painkillers that ultimately contributed to his death.
So when you try to sum him up, what do you even say? Genius, rebel, seeker, slave? He was all of those things, often at the same time. A secret hitmaker who was also a public provocateur. A spiritual man who built a commercial empire. An artist who felt enslaved by the very name that made him a legend.
And maybe that's the ultimate thing about Prince. It's impossible to separate the masterpieces we know and love from the mysteries he left behind. The music he gave us absolutely changed the world. But it's the music in the vault, the stories we'll never fully know. That's what creates this endless sense of genius that will keep us all wondering forever.